Albert Einstein said, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live his whole life believing it is stupid." And that's basically what this book is about. Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker only has 55 pages. You can be finished reading this in 1 hour, and yet the content will save you years of wrongly positioning yourself in your career and work environment. Hi, this is Gigi from Book Street Smart, and in this video I'm going to talk about the book Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker and why you should first read this book before any other business book. A fish is excellent in swimming. A monkey is excellent in climbing a tree. A bird is excellent in flying. But if we ask the bird to swim, it will fail. If we ask the monkey to fly, it will fail. And if we, like Einstein pointed out, ask a fish to climb a tree, it will fail. Of course, this seems obvious, but we humans do it too. Most people think they have chosen the career path that fit them well. The truth is, more often than not, they are usually wrong. It's extremely important to be able to manage yourself and know where you belong. Because if you don't, you'll end up like that fish trying to climb a tree. In order to manage yourself, you need to know yourself. And according to Drucker, in order to do that, you need to ask yourself a couple of very important questions. The first question you need to ask yourself is, what are my strengths? Now, I don't know about you, but I remember in high school and even in college, we used to have several assignments where we had to write down our strengths and our weaknesses. And then we were taught to focus on our weaknesses and put an effort into bettering them. It was only many years later where I came across this book that I realized we have been doing it all wrong. Instead, we should have not focused on our weaknesses, but on our strengths. See, you can try and work on your weaknesses and put in time and effort into bettering them, but you can't build a great performance on weaknesses. However, if you work more on your strengths, skills that already come natural to you, you unlock the door to excellence and you can reach your full potential. To figure out your strengths, Drucker explains that you need to use feedback analysis. Whenever you make a key decision or take a key action, write down what you expect will happen. 9 or 12 months later, compare your expectations with the actual results. You have to keep practicing this method until it finally shows you where you produce results and what your strengths are. You then have to position yourself in those areas where your strengths can be used. The second question you need to ask yourself is, how do I perform? How you perform is a matter of personality. Aside from the question if it's nature or nurture, there's a certain way in how you, based on your uniqueness, should do things in a way that will bring you the most results and make you achieve more. The first thing you should figure out in how you perform is, are you a reader or a listener? Drucker gives the example of Dwight Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States. Before Eisenhower became president, however, he served as a supreme commander of the Allied forces in Europe, and he was known for his press conferences. The journalists loved him because every question that they asked him during the press conferences, Eisenhower was able to answer them intelligently with just a few sentences. But years later, when he became the president, during the press conferences, he could never really address a question and kept rambling on about something else. Suddenly, he got ridiculed for his performance during the press conferences. So what happened? Apparently, Eisenhower was a reader and not a listener. What had happened was, when he was a supreme commander, he always got presented with the questions of the press in writings before the press conference would begin. He could read the questions, understand them well, and then give the best possible answer. He was in total command. But when he became a president, this didn't happen. He He wasn't presented with the questions in writings anymore. So instead, he was forced to just go by listening, which he wasn't great at, and therefore did a terrible performance. So are you more of a reader or a listener? And what can you do to make sure that you can build your performance on the answer to that question? Because if only Eisenhower was more aware of himself, he would have probably made sure that he would still get the questions in writings when he became president. The second thing to know about how you perform is how do you learn? You might remember school as being a torture, or you might remember school as being not so bad at all. That mostly has to do with how schools force you to learn. In school, they want you to learn by listening and reading. That's it. So if you happen to be someone that learned differently, you probably had a tough time in school. There's a high chance you had to put in a lot more effort and a lot more time into learning than your classmates. See, there are more ways to learn, but because schools didn't allow you to learn that way, you probably got poor grades. So it's crucial to know how you learn. Do you learn by reading and listening? Do you learn by writing things down? Do you learn by doing it yourself or by seeing someone else do it? Are you a visual learner? Do you learn by hearing yourself talk or hear others talk? This also explains why a lot of people love the idea of reading books but can't stand the reading itself. They rather listen to audiobooks because that's the best way to learn, by listening. So how do you learn and how can you use that to your advantage? Another very important question on how you perform is, are you a decision maker or more of an advisor? There are people that are excellent in analyzing a situation, seeing different scenarios and giving the best possible advice. But those same people are often at the same time not the best decision makers. They need someone to finally take the final decision and act on it with speed and courage. You are either a decision maker or an advisor. Very few people are able to do both perfectly. And as much we might desire to be both, there's nothing wrong with being just one or the other. Matter of fact, if you know which one you are and you can partner up or position yourself with someone that can fill in the other role, you can complement each other greatly. The third big question you need to ask yourself is, what are my values? Drucker calls this the mirror test. You need to ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to see in the mirror in the morning? Because if you were to work for an organization or an environment whose value system does not match with your value system, with your mirror test, then you will most likely not perform well. Vice versa, if you own a business and want to hire people, you need to figure out if there's going to be a conflict of values that will not only lead to less results, but also a lot of frustration. After you figure out the most important questions, you need to then ask yourself, where do I belong? Knowing where one belongs can transform an ordinary person, hardworking and competent, but otherwise mediocre, into an outstanding performer. In other words, you can easily go from mediocrity to excellence and mastery if only you are aware of where you belong. Look, some people have been lucky to find out at a very young age where they belong. They had a passion for something that they were also good at, and naturally align their work with their true self. Others figure it out later in life, and some never even find out. So the sooner you ask yourself these important questions, the sooner you figure out where you belong. Because wouldn't it be kind of tragic if you sold yourself short just because you weren't fully aware of your own natural skills? Or wouldn't it be kind of sad if throughout your whole life you always thought you were just an underachiever, when in reality, you probably positioned yourself the wrong way? So before you read any other business book or even think about any career path, learn to first manage yourself. I am shocked that content like this is rarely or not even at all taught in schools, because it is crucial and has a very big impact on your future. There's more to managing yourself than I have covered in this video. I tried to cover the most important part, which is the most important question you need to ask yourself. But aside of that, I highly recommend you read this book. Matter of fact, everyone should just have this book in their bookshelves, and that goes for school libraries as well. I hope this video was of value to you. If so, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to get notified every time there's a new video up. Also, check out the description below for more interesting links. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you next time.